He's the one who never falls apart. In a show about 5 broken people, Marshall Eriksen is the glue. The good husband, the loyal friend, the big, goofy, gentle giant who believes in true love and the Loch Ness Monster with the exact same amount of certainty. He's the one everyone leans on. So here's a question that I never thought to ask until my 3rd rewatch. Who does Marshall lean on? Because if you actually really watch him, you start to notice something. Marshall's the saddest character in How I Met Your Mother. Not the loudest about it, not the most dramatic, the saddest. And the reason you never noticed is because he spent 9 seasons making sure you wouldn't. This is the silent grief of Marshall Eriksen. To understand Marshall, you have to go back before any of them. Back to Minnesota, back to the Eriksen house. Marshall grew up the youngest of 3 giant brothers in a family that turned everything into a competition. Wrestling matches, eating contests, a homemade board game so brutal they literally called it Marshgammon. It was loud, physical, relentless. The Eriksen way was simple. You don't complain, you don't cry, you tough it out, and you definitely don't talk about your feelings. But here's what makes Marshall different from someone like Robin who came out of a cold house. The Eriksen house wasn't cold, it was warm, it was loving, it was just loud and big and full of men who showed love by giving each other a hard time and never ever slowing down. So Marshall learned something very specific as a kid. He learned that love is real. But you express it by being strong for everyone else. You don't fall apart, because falling apart isn't what Eriksen men do. You stay big, you stay warm, you carry. That's the seed of everything. The kindness is real, the toughness is real, and underneath both of them, a quiet rule he absorbed before he could even question it. My job is to be okay so the people I love can lean on me. Now watch how that plays out in the group. Most people around him are running from something. Ted's chasing a fantasy. Barney's hiding behind a mask. Robin's escaping every time love gets close. Marshall isn't running from anything. Marshall's standing still, holding everyone else up. Watch the pattern across the whole show. When Lily leaves him, when she walks out to chase a painting fellowship in San Francisco and breaks his heart in the process, he's devastated, genuinely shattered. And when she comes back, he takes her back. No real conditions, no lasting punishment, because Marshall's love doesn't come with a meter running. When the group needs a referee, a peacemaker, a shoulder, it's always Marshall. When someone needs to believe in something good, Marshall's the one who still does, so the rest of them don't have to. That's his role, the believer, the rock. And here's the thing about being the rock. Nobody ever asks the rock if it's okay. Rocks don't get to be sad. Rocks just hold. So Marshall keeps doing what Minnesota taught him. He puts his own pain in a box, smiles that big Marshall smile, and asks everyone else how they're doing. It works. For years it works, until the phone rings. Season 6. Marshall's at a party. His phone rings. It's his mom. His father is dead. Marvin Eriksen, the dad who taught him everything, who was bigger than life, who Marshall loved without complication, gone. A heart attack. No warning, no goodbye. And what the show does next is the most honest thing it ever did, because grief on TV is usually loud. It's a single perfect tear, a dramatic speech, and then the character moves on by next episode. That's not what happens to Marshall. Marshall falls apart slowly, quietly, in pieces. He goes numb first. He can't cry. He tries to act normal because acting normal is the only thing he knows how to do. He obsesses over a last voicemail from his dad, terrified to listen to it, terrified to lose it. He sees his father's ghost. He gets angry at small things. He breaks down at the worst possible moments, over the smallest possible triggers. That's what grief actually looks like. Not a single scene. A long, ugly, non-linear unraveling of a person who built his whole identity around being okay. And here's what makes it unbearable to watch once you see it. Marshall, the guy who held everyone else up his entire life, finally needs to be held. And he barely knows how to ask. And now look back, with this in mind, at the coping mechanism Marshall built his whole life around, because the show was showing them to us as jokes for years, and they were never really jokes. Take the slap bet. On the surface, it's the funniest running gag in the show. Marshall wins the right to slap Barney 5 times across eternity, and he hoards those slaps like treasure. We laugh. It's great. But think about what it actually is. Marshall's a man who can't control anything that matters. He can't control whether Lily stays. He can't control whether his dreams happen. He can't control whether his father lives or dies, so he takes one tiny corner of the universe, 5 slaps, and he makes it the one thing that is completely, totally, unbreakably his. Fair, earned, justice in a world that keeps refusing to be fair to him. The slap bet isn't comedy. It's a man clinging to the one thing he gets to be in charge of. Then there's the pause. Marshall and Lily have this thing where, when a fight gets too big, they pause it. They freeze the conflict and come back to it later. Sometimes much later. It's adorable. It's framed as the secret to their perfect marriage. But watch it again. The pause is conflict avoidance with a cute name. It's two people who love each other deciding that the way to stay happy is to not deal with the hard thing right now. And nobody in the group is better at pausing their own pain indefinitely than Marshall Eriksen. He pauses his grief to be strong for Lily. He pauses his dreams to support her career. He pauses his own needs so reliably that everyone, including the audience, and just assumes he doesn't have that many. And then there's Lily's debt. For years, Lily hides crushing credit card debt from Marshall. When it finally comes out, it nearly sinks them. And what does Marshall do? He doesn't blow up. He absorbs it. He takes a corporate job he hates to dig them out of a hole he didn't even make. That's the pattern of his whole life in one storyline. Someone else's burden quietly becomes Marshall's to carry. And he carries it, because that's what The Rock does. But here's the part that turns Marshall from sad into tragic. Marshall has dreams. Real ones. He doesn't want to be a corporate lawyer. He wants to be an environmental lawyer and eventually a judge. He wants to protect things, to do good with his life. It's the most Marshall dream possible. Now count how many times he gives it up. He takes the job at Goliath National Bank, the exact kind of soulless corporate giant his whole conscience is against, to pay off Lily's debt and keep their life afloat. He delays his dream again and again every time someone else needs something. When the judgeship finally comes, when he finally gets the thing he's wanted, his entire life, he gives it up. For Lily's dream. For Italy. Because that's what Marshall does. He puts himself last. Every single time. And the show frames this as romantic. As Marshall being a good husband, a good partner. And it is. But sit with it for a second. The kindest character in the show spends 9 seasons quietly setting his own dreams on fire to keep everyone else warm. Nobody ever does that for him. That's the silent grief. It's not just his father, it's a whole life of being the one who gives, the one who holds, the one who's okay so everyone else gets to fall apart. Marshall grieves his father in plain sight and we see it. But the bigger grief, the slow, quiet mourning of the life he kept giving away, that one he never even names. Because naming it would mean admitting The Rock gets tired too. And yet, and this is the thing that breaks me about Marshall, he finds a way to turn even his worst pain into something good. When his son is born, he names him Marvin, after his father. Think about what that is. The man dies with no warning, no goodbye, and Marshall's left holding a grief he doesn't know what to do with. And instead of letting it harden into bitterness, he takes the name of the father he lost, and he gives it to the son he gains. He turns the end of one life into the beginning of another. That's the most Marshall thing in the entire show. He couldn't save his dad. He couldn't get an answer for why it happened. So he did the only thing he knows how to do with pain. He carried it forward and he turned it into love. His father believed in him, so Marshall makes sure his father's name gets to believe in someone new. So who does Marshall lean on? The honest answer the show gives us is mostly no one. He leans on his belief, on Lily when he can, on the memory of a father who'd be proud of the man he became. And maybe that's the quietest tragedy in How I Met Your Mother, not the dramatic ones. Not Ted's longing or Barney's mask or Robin's running. Just a big, kind man who decided, somewhere along the way, that his job was to carry everyone. And then carried them all the way to the end, without ever putting the weight down. We love Marshall because he's the warm one, the funny one, the one who never breaks. But the reason he never breaks isn't that nothing hurts him. It's that he decided a long time ago, back in a loud, warm house in Minnesota, that his pain could wait. That everyone else came first, that being The Rock was worth whatever it quietly cost him. The saddest characters aren't always the ones crying. Sometimes they're the ones smiling so you don't have to worry. If you've ever been The Rock for the people you love, the one who holds everything together while quietly carrying your own weight, then you already understand Marshall better than the show ever spelled out. So tell me down in the comments, who's the Marshall in your life? or is it you? And if this is how you like your How I Met Your Mother, the stuff underneath the jokes, subscribe and stick around. Barney, Ted, Robin are already up. Lily's coming next, and trust me, her story is darker than you think. I'm decoding How I Met Your Mother one character at a time. I'll see you in the next one.